John, it's good to see you again. It was 2014 you were here in Salt Lake.
I have to tell you, I have been back to Salt Lake a couple of times before then, as after then. Every time I go back, in a way, it's beginning to feel like going home again. You guys make me feel so welcome,
Well, thank
and
you. You are welcome.
yes, and I was going to see the choir in Cardiff last year. I got an invitation for that. Um, but yeah, didn't quite turn out the way that we were going to.
I
Uh,
know. Such a terrible, terrible problem. And this whole industry is suffering in many, many different ways. I mean, not just the actors, but the catering and the people that, that work on sets every day. So I hope it gets back to a normal.
well, we're a resilient species. Um, and my generation, and I'm a lot older than you, we've really actually had it pretty easy. We haven't had any world wars. We haven't really, we haven't had any real pestilence. I guess no. My generation's had a pretty easy life.
Well, I'm in the same generation you are, believe it or not.
Well, you're better preserved, dear lad.
Well, it's because I do eat preservatives.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. Those nitrates are essential in your diet.
Yeah, exactly. You use a glycerin every so often. It is so great to catch up with you and talk to you a little bit because we've never really had a real conversation about your career and all the things you do. And I'm glad we have a little bit of time to do that. I want to just, of course, mention Bad Cupid, which is coming out for Valentine's, and it's a very funny movie. You play a god, and trouble ensues. Trouble follows wherever you go.
I like to think that, yes, indeed. I think the language may offend some of my more some of my more religious and correct friends and fans. Mm. But it's a different story. Yeah. And what we have is a middle-aged Cupid who's been doing the job for longer than he cares to talk about, and just trying to mate A with B happily ever after. And you get no help from people. Why? Because they're stupid. Yeah, and you're doing the same job year in, year out. I mean, it's nice to be able to ring the changes sometimes. And one of the things I hope that I've got in the performance is that slight the Greek gods, they like men, they help men, some have even loved men or women
more than they should.
More than they should. Oh, that's Zeus. Well, my grandfather, look, I mean, just look at my heritage, for God's sake. I mean, grandfather put it about everywhere. Sisters, anybody, let's tread, let's become a bull. Let's, look at Leda there. Why don't I try the swan position? Mum, Venus. Well, she was no better than she should be. She is no better than she should be. And Dad, Mars, well, what soldiers are like. I think Nelson once said, every man is a bachelor south of Gibraltar.
Do you find Shakespeare in just about everything you do?
He is the greatest observer of humanity and the greater. I generally find an aphorism for almost every part of human contact, of human conduct in Shakespeare. But then poets do that, don't they? Just sometimes a poet's phrase will nail something. There's a line of that young 30s part of that poetry group that was around Auden and Isherwood. C. Day Lewis, father of the C. Day Lewis, the actor, loves the big boss at whose side forever slouches the shadow of the gunman.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
I love that too. I love Voltaire. If we're going to, that God is a comedian playing to an audience too scared to laugh. I just love that.
Yes.
But it seems to me that in the characters that you have played, I'm going back to even I, Claudius, which is certainly a Shakespearean type play. That there is a little bit of the bard in everything that you do, or do you place it there? Do you find it there, or is it written that way?
I look, that old aphorism, the unconsidered life is not worth living. If one turns it around, one should try and live a considered life. And I glory in history, our history. You and I have a common history together, and we are multiply related so many times. And I think our ancestors were every bit as mortal and morally aware as we are. And I think they were probably, many of them, if they had the time and opportunity, lived considered lives. I played characters who were shallow, venal, corrupt, desperate, powerful, hollow, and I'd like to invest all those qualities that exist in you and me in my work. And sometimes when you're a young man, you're trying to pack the whole thing into one performance, and as you sort of try and pace it out and find all the notes that exist in just one single strand, it becomes more nuanced, perhaps. But then, the significance of actors is very little, really. And I suspect that you, in your job, will really have more significance in your lifetime than I have in mine.
I don't know about that. I can't speak to that. I think what I try to do is become a liaison between the actor and the public to kind of flesh out what the actor does. It's not only about the role that you've played, like Gimli or Leonardo da Vinci in Voyager. It's about the nuances and the subtleties of doing a role like that and how much study you do to find those characters.
Well, obviously you do some study, but I'm pretty well read. I try and keep up on current reading as well. I had an effortlessly clever headmaster when I was at my boarding school who placed the curse on all of us when he casually said, of course, an educated man reads at least 2 books a week outside his subject of interest.
That's a lot of pressure.
No pressure. Yes, but indeed, as you get older, so you see connections with people. But I am glad that you talk about the audience, because, that is if there's one thing that I talk to my fellow actors about, is look after the audience. They're the ones who come out in the rain and put out good money that they've had to earn to keep you in the lifestyle that you just take for granted and demand. The only thing that an actor or a writer or a creative person or somebody in entertainment should wake up to every morning, there should be a plaque opposite the bed. So when you open your eyes in the morning, the first thing you see is the drama's laws, the drama's patrons give, and we who live to please must please to live. And when actors keep their eyes on that and understand that it isn't just about how interesting I really am and really think I am and how important I really ought to be. It's about the audience. It's about taking the work and serving it to our masters, our patrons, the audience. We serve them. We serve the writer, we serve the audience, and we also serve those who actually do say, I'm going to risk the family fortune and make this little movie. Yeah. And we owe a loyalty to them too.
It's been an interesting change of events over the years, because there was a time, at least here in America, where actors, that you couldn't even get a room, if you were in a town. And now, there are royalty here.
Yes, indeed. But then that sort of ambivalence to actors has been there forever. When the Greeks, when the Greek tragedian put on that mask, and the god entered them, they were transformed into something that is other than what we are.
Yeah.
And that possession, though we never talk about it, but I think there are a number of us who have felt it, certainly on the stage, where suddenly one night you don't know who's doing the performance. You don't know where that idea, thought, or thing came from, but you are in the zone,
in the moment. Yeah.
And you could actually make it work if you stood on your hands and did it. But there is that extraordinary sense of.
Well, isn't that where you lose yourself and everybody else in that performance, where you are that person now? You have become that character for that moment.
Yes, and that's a very odd and odd thing to do.
I like the fact that you handle fame well. I've seen you interact, when you were out here, I've seen you interact with your fans. You are a hugger. You are a person that gives people time. And that's a rare gift as well.
When I was a young man and very Byronic, and I didn't much like people. And I have to say, more and more, I like people. I've learned to listen to people, and they tell me everything. They're the best instructors, the best advisors, the best sounding boards that a man could possibly have. And you know what? It's going to sound a very odd thing to say, but I think that one of the reasons for that transformation has been that I went to fan conventions. When I first got invited to a fan convention, I thought, oh, what the hell am I doing this for? For God's sake, do I really want to talk about this and that and the other? I mean, don't these people have proper lives? Well, I got there and I was a little bit surprised and taken back, and I got invited. And slowly, over time, I realized, actually, they do have lives. They're very rich lives. Some of them have rich lives in desperate circumstances. I have met real heroes, mothers and fathers who are supporting brilliant but very challenged children, and you look at them and you think, you have qualities that I can only admire. I have met people, I've met glorious people. I meet extremely clever people, but I like almost every one of them teaches me something, and you cannot find yourself in a situation where you like people and like things without being changed. I think I may be a marginally nicer person because of it.
Well, I think those lessons are well met, and again, getting back to that one word, considered. It opens. Travel broadens you, but as an actor, meeting these people that follow you in so many different ways, they're not just fans of what you do, but fans of the books that these are based on, and all of that is a very broad and wonderful net.
Oh yeah, and what a lovely ongoing education it has been. Yes, the travel does broaden the mind a bit, and to realize that an incautious remark in one country can hurt people in another.
Yeah.
And we all, the other thing one has to remember is that there is no privacy anymore. You cannot make one of these facile remarks, the silly things you say, on the spur of the moment. Oh, can't bloody stand such and such and such and such. Yeah. And if somebody was there and said, you don't really mean that, you say, well, of course I don't really mean it. But those ill-considered and unconsidered moments really damage not only your life, but can damage others as well. And that's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, I think there is so much room in this world now for the genteelness of maybe another century, the lyric of good writing and good speech.
Yes.
Where you could say some damaging things, but it's couched in such poetry that, people think it's a compliment.
Yes. You remember that lovely poem by Auden, Earth receive an honored guest, William Yeats is laid to rest. And it talks about it talks about right time that pardons people. Time that pardons Paul Claudel, who was a pretty right-wing neo-fascist in those days, pardons him for writing well.
Yeah.
And it's one of the great challenges of our time,
I go back to Shakespeare and Mark Antony's speech in Julius Caesar, where he's condemning Brutus but praising him at the same time. What a brilliant piece of writing!
Yes. The evil
So,
that men do lives after them. So let it be with Caesar.
yeah, these are honorable men.
Yes.
So,
Or
were you really allergic to the makeup in Lord of the Rings?
no, it was not an allergy. It's just that we were using everything you see in Gimli's face is the prosthetic. The only things that are mine are the eyes, sort of below there, and the lips there. The rest is prosthetic, but that prosthetic is glued on. We were using a medical adhesive. Medical adhesive is hypoallergenic. You won't react to it adversely, but it is not designed to be put on and taken off on a daily basis. It sort of bonds so tightly to the skin that when you take it off, it removes a layer of cells. And in the end, it literally stripped all the skin from my eyes. And the whole face then becomes puffy and filled with fluid. I looked hideous. It was one of the most unpleasant experiences of I mean, I hated looking at myself in the mirror. My then lady friend said to me one day, "Honey, I don't know how I can say this to you, but the truth of the matter is I can't bear to look at you. I have got to go back to LA." It was a tough one, but I was repulsive. I looked hideous. It looked as if I had some terrible skin disease with, that you remember when you were a child and you fell over and grazed your knee, and it would be wet and lobster red, like that. That was what my face looked like.
Oh my God, your face was a scab.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Well, thank God they've upgraded how we do makeup now with.
Well, actually, if you look at the dwarves of The Hobbit, very few of them had anything like as much makeup as I had on, and I think that was a wise lesson learned. But it was a very important part to do, and I'm glad I was persuaded not to say no to it. I didn't really want to do it, but the privilege of working with a great filmer, not only a great film maker, but one of the great original film producers. Peter Jackson built an international film industry in New Zealand to service his vision of Lord of the Rings. There have not been many men single-handedly who have done that in their country or their time.
And look who we brought together. I'm not just talking about the cast. I mean, Weta, the people that did behind the special effects. He brought great cinematography. He created software to fill in crowds. I mean, the man gave jobs to thousands and thousands of people.
In the early days, there was a socialist lady prime minister in New Zealand, and she unilaterally announced that there would be no more knighthoods given. And I made myself very unpopular with her because every time I did an interview, particularly in New Zealand, I would say, "Now, who is this person that has unilaterally decided to get rid of knighthoods? You have Peter Jackson here, a man who has done more to put New Zealand on the map of the world than anyone since Captain Cook. And you're what? You're going to give him a New Zealand honor, The Order of the Splatted Possum, perhaps. You know, let me tell you that the Order of the Splatted Possum, OM New Zealand, is not going to do anything for him. But when Sir Peter Jackson walks into a studio in LA, they will listen to him even a little bit more. And that's what you should be doing. Of course, when we all got invited to the Beehive, which is their parliament down in Wellington, to meet the government, the one person that she did not meet and did not shake hands with, and who does not appear on the New Zealand stamp.
That's kind of an honor as well, isn't it?
Well, it is really.
Our time is getting short, and I wanted to also ask you about working with Robert Preston, one of my favorite people in the world.
That film, I think, was the first time as an actor. I mean, I looked around at this cast and thought, Christ, they are so good. If I can hold my own in this lot, I'm in with a chance. I love Bob Preston, Robert. Well, you didn't call him Bob, but you called him Robert. But he was a great all-rounder, lovely man. But then
I have his hat. He gave me his hat from The Music Man, his straw hat. I have it right over here. When I did The Music Man when I was in high school, and he showed up to it with Meredith Willson, and it was, I cried. I mean, to meet him like that and to have him say, "Here, this is for you." What an amazing human being he was, and so talented.
Yeah, well, he did well. Stage actors tend to have a little bit of extra resilience and than film actors just by themselves. I mean, because we've been in those lousy digs and woken up in the morning with 43 flea bites, and we've known what it's like to have to go on without an understudy when you've got flu. I will not tell you the actor's name, but I will tell you a disgusting story, because it is so right. I was discussing this with one of your very great American film and stage actors. And he said, "Oh God, John," he said, "you don't remind me. We were doing rep. I didn't have an understudy. I had the flu. I had the shits as well. And I'm standing in the wings, ready to go on, and I have to sneeze. And as I sneeze, I shit my pants. I'm playing the juvie lead. I'm in dinner jacket and all that sort of thing. I had to walk on and sit on the sofa. I didn't quite sit on the sofa. I walked on, and the shit went down the back of my legs into my boots, and everyone on the stage and in the first row of the audience were going like that, And he said, that wasn't the worst of it. He said, the worst of it was I had to go back to the wardrobe department, because we were doing an evening performance, and say, I've shat my pants. And he said, and I have been there. There used to be something called Dr. Collis Brown's clotidine, which was an Indian Army recipe for dealing with indie belly. Basically, a few simple ingredients like capsicum, opium, morphine, and it would actually it would turn the liquid into concrete in the space of an hour. Of course, you can't get any more because the bloody junkies have all destroyed that. But oh dear me, it did save my life once or twice when I was a rep actor. Anyway, that's really why people who come from the stage perhaps have a little more coarseness and a little more
resilience.
Resilience.
They can get through anything. And again, I love your work. I've always been a fan ever since, pretty much I Claudius and all. But Raiders of the Lost Ark, what a smashing performance that was. I think I have your line "bad dates" as one of my ringtones. So
we all have had them. Yeah.
bad dates, which is why you took that medicine, because that's what it does to you.
Exactly. But you will not meet many actors who've had a more fortunate life of opportunities than I've had. To do one great thing in an actor's life or be part of one great thing in an actor's life is pretty good. Pretty, you congratulate. But to have done I Claudius, The Naked Civil Servant, Shogun, Victor Victoria, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Sliders, Lord of the Rings, Bad Cupid.
Bad Cupid. Let's add that in. That's a career.
Did you like it? Did you like it, by the way?
I thought it was very funny. It's a very funny romp, and we need romps. It's almost like a carry-on comedy in that way. It's just nonsensically funny.
Well, speak kindly of it. But anyway, how lovely to talk to you again, and let's do it again.
And I want to try the coffee in New Zealand. I hear it's amazing. I hear your wines are incredible.
Well, just 1 second. Let me. No, I'll tell you what. First of all, let me just point out the bedroom window so you can see the shitty circumstances that I wake up to in the morning.
Oh my! Look! Oh my God! Oh, that's beautiful, John. Is that lot for sale next to you? I may build a house there. I hear Russell Crowe is moving in.
Well, he's become an older and more interesting man these days, hasn't he?
He's more considered, as we keep talking about.
Isn't it an interesting observation, that one? And you sort of know what it means. But this is the view from the deck here.
Oh, that's gorgeous. What a lovely place you live in. You're in heaven.
Yeah, I am. The luckiest damn bastard you're going to meet this week. Listen, darling, will you make sure that you send my love to all my friends in Utah and especially the great choir. And I miss them. I think of them. I hope we get a chance to meet up again.
And I wish you would come out. I would love you to do a class on Shakespeare out here. Maybe I can host it or get you out here some way. But I would love to sit in a class that you are teaching.
Well, as the Arabs say, inshallah, God willing. God willing.
Yes.
But yeah, but I found Utah very strange when I first came to it. But every time I go back, I find such friendliness and welcome, and I have a great affection for it.
And the food isn't bad.
Food's not bad. The views are okay, but you've seen a bit.
John, I'm going to come out for a visit in New Zealand, and maybe we'll go get some barramundi or something.
All right, yeah.
Pavlova, that's Australian though.
Yeah, pavlova. Yeah, no, we do pavlova here as well.
You probably do it better.
Anyway. Not so the Aussies would say, but
it is always a pleasure to talk with you. But this was just terrific. I appreciate your time and your patience with me.
Oh, Thank you for your patience. Some of them may recover. The old gags are the best, aren't they?
They really are. I miss Henny Youngman a lot.
I had occasion to go into a lawyer's office yesterday, so I couldn't resist the old lawyer joke. A lawyer dies, approaches the gates of heaven, and Peter says, "Oh, come on up here." Yes, how very unusual. We don't generally get people of your age here. And the lawyer says, "What do you mean my age? I'm only 72. And Peter says, "Well, according to your billing hours, you're 135.
John, thank you.
Take it, dear boy.
This was a wonderful treat, and again, I love you dearly, and I hope to see you very, very soon.
I hope we both are seen again.
That'd be nice.
You take care, dear boy.
Love you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.